Hi Nick, here's a story about my first job as a cashier at Cub Foods in Indianapolis on Lafayette Road in the Lafayette Square, Lafayette Place area near 38th Street. I worked there in 1991 from May to August. I was 17 years old when I started. I was 17 years old when I ended my employment there. This grocery store I worked at was not Cub like the bear or Cubs like the baseball team, but CUB as an acronym that stood for Consumers United for Buying. They were happy to tell us that during orientation. Sadly, I don't think that business still exists today. I looked it up and they might still have locations in Minnesota or Illinois, but it was hard to tell. Results inconclusive. That information is not really important to this story though. When Cub did exist, however, as a new and shiny alternative grocery option in Indianapolis, I chose that job because my girlfriend at the time had been working there for several months and I thought it might be fun and easy. My other option that summer could have been an internship at the State of Indiana office building where my dad worked. I preferred the less regular schedule of the grocery store rather than going into downtown Indianapolis Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. Cashiers had to work Saturdays, but I was off most weekdays. I also considered working at a golf course like Claremont or Brownsburg or the Country Club, which was what I thought I actually wanted to do for work, but I really didn't know how to find a job that you wanted. I was very naive about a lot of things. But working at the grocery store did give me time to play golf during the weekday on occasion. I would go to Riverside or I would go to Claremont or Brownsburg where you could walk 9 holes for $5. That was great. I was much more interested in having fun than having a job. At Cub, however, I had a manager named Dave. There was a customer service supervisor named Sarah, several other managers and supervisors. I wore a white shirt and a tie to work, along with a Cub vest, so it kind of looked professional. Once we signed in at the registers, they kept track of our productivity with each transaction, which I found a little nerve-wracking. I wish I could have taken extra time to make sure I did the right thing, rather than sweat the details of if I was scanning enough items per minute. I think I usually met the goals, but just barely. I did get grifted out of money one time. I'm not sure exactly how it happened, but the situation went down exactly how they describe in training. I was at the register farthest from the office and farthest from the exit. Some guy came in and bought a pack of gum with a $100 bill, and then he kept adding small things to it and making change for the larger bills. It all seemed like I was keeping up, and I was aware that this is probably one of those situations where he's trying to grift the money. But that night, my drawer was short. I still do not know how that scam works. I guess I'm too honest to even understand crime. Good for me. Sometimes at jobs, however, people will take advantage of an employee. Often it's a customer, other times it's from within. Neither situation feels very good. For this Cub Foods job, I would have driven my mom's gold copperish '84 Mustang for the first couple of weeks or so. Then my grandpa got me a red '78 Mustang for graduation, and then I started driving that to work. Sometimes too fast. I remember coming home from work one time and I passed a truck on the interstate. I had to take 465 from 38th Street down to 10th Street. And I got caught in a speed wave with some other cars that kept me going way faster than I normally would have gone. And after a couple miles, and I was just used to going 80 miles an hour, when I looked up and a UPS van was tailgating me. And so I finally got the opportunity to slide back over to the middle lane to let this UPS van go past. And turns out it was my neighbor who saw me fly by him earlier and caught up with me to advise me to slow down. I was a little embarrassed, especially later when he asked me if I always drove that fast. I certainly hope he didn't tell my parents. I wonder now if I should have worked with him at UPS in 1991. That could have led to a lot of significant financial opportunity in that decade and beyond. Oh, the things we see in hindsight, I guess. Since Cub Foods no longer exists in Indianapolis, even if I hadn't left for other reasons, I still wouldn't be working there today. I often marvel at those who have held one job for decades, but as you will see, that was not my employment destiny. I left that job to start college in Missouri that August and never really tried to do it again. It wasn't necessarily a bad job, but it wasn't as fun and rewarding as I thought a lot of other jobs might be. So that's job number 1. Several more to go. Thanks for watching.